Hi, this is Chrissie B with beautifulcreatives.com, and I thought tonight for this mixed media technique video I would show you some of my favorite ways to get paint on a background rather quickly. So I don't know if you watched my video a few weeks ago where I used my stack of sheets to kind of play on. I'm just going to pick a couple of those sheets that are clean. I'm going to use one that is just plain gesso. I'm going to use one that has texture paste that was put through stencils. People will see that. Let's see, one more. I'm going to do this one with book pages, and I just gessoed over the top of that. So I think those are really good examples. And I'm not going to use anything terribly fancy or terribly expensive, but let me see. I'm going to do 3 different techniques. My 3 favorite ways to get color down onto my sheets rather quickly. This is really good for somebody who maybe is new to art journaling, or maybe just wants to figure out some basics on how to get some color down without fear. And it might be for somebody who just wants to try something new maybe. So let's start with one at a time. I have 4 colors of paint with me right now. I am using golden titanium white, my favorite white. It's nice and loose. And I have 3 craft paints. I love deco art for craft paint. You may not know this, but I'm an art journaler. It's one of my absolute favorite things. I use art journaling as a tool for healing. And I find that when you use craft paint, like deco art craft paints, I find that they dry very matte. And what that means for an art journaler is when it is matte, that means I'm able to write on top of it with various pens. If it's glossy, if it dries with any kind of shine on it at all, it ends up being a little bit difficult and your pen will slide around a little bit. Or if the ink does manage to get on the page properly, it will take a long time to dry and could smudge. So that's why I really like these inexpensive craft paints. I also really like them because they really take a lot of the pressure off of making something gorgeous, because I find that these are generally between 50 cents and $1 a piece, which, come on, I love. But because they're so inexpensive, it's very easy to experiment with them and not worry too much about what it looks like in the end, but it's more about doing the process and trying it out and seeing what works and what doesn't work and what you like and what you don't like. So I find that this really takes the pressure off of I might be wasting really expensive product versus, well, it will take quite a bit to get through one of these bottles, but it only cost me 50 cents to $1 to replace them. So let's get started. Oh, as always, I will put on beautifulcreatives.com a list of all of the products that I'm using. So if you want specific colors, please head on over there and I will make sure to have that entire list there. As for additional supplies that you may find handy, I always have a paintbrush with me, and you may know this already, I do talk about this brush a lot, but this is the Dina Wakley Media 1-inch flat brush. I use this quite often. I really like this one a lot, so I always have this on hand. Some kind of old credit card. Please do not use your credit card that you're currently using. You want to use an old credit card because this will get damaged. Or maybe you could use like a hotel key card or something like that. Just something nice and firm and rigid. I kind of like those a lot. It's gonna be kind of tricky to tell you what this is. I don't even know if you'll be able to even see it, but it's a little piece of plastic. Mine just happens to be hard. This would work with any kind of plastic. This particular technique will work with any kind of plastic. You can even use like transparency, like overhead transparency. You can even use transparent tape if you want to, like packing tape. Just fold them over together, and I'll show you on a different on one of the other sheets how I'm going to use that, but that might be nice to have on standby. And you'll see what I do with it, and you really can use whatever you want. It doesn't have to be this specific thing, but this was just some leftovers of some packing material of some sort for something I had purchased, and I liked it so much, and it was a really good size for me, that I thought, oh, that's going to be fun to use. So that's what that is. And I really always like to have a palette knife with me. Plastic, metal, doesn't really matter. Just something super simple to get some color down on your page. So let me get some paint down onto my palette. and we can get started. Okay, so this first technique is probably the easiest. I love this one the best. So I love this technique for being very quick and just get it done, get it down, get it out of the way. And you don't have to pay too much attention to this. You don't have to think too hard about it. So what I'm going to do is pick up one of my colors using my card here, this old credit card. And I'm going to scrape my paint down my page. And I'm going to kind of just let it go where it wants to go. Now those of you who watch my other art videos will know that I really like all of my strokes to be directional. I want them all to be either left or right or up and down. I know there's some science behind that, but I don't know. I just really like it. So it's kind of a rule I abide to. You don't have to stick with one color. You can add others. And I think I will add the blue. Just dip your key in it and just use that as your paint stroking mechanism. The other good thing that's really good about this is that the paint goes on really, really thin this way, because really if you hear it, I'm scraping along the table to really make sure I'm getting this as thin as I can. The good thing about that is that it means your page dries really, really quickly. And you really can keep going, more or less, whichever you want. But that is one of my favorite ways to get paint down on an art page rather quickly. And so I always have some kind of a plastic key card, credit card in my art bag, so I'm always ready to do that. So we'll move that one on to the side and let it dry. This one is also a very quick one. You saw me doing this in my mixed media with Chrissie video last week. I'm gonna do it again. Same colors, but I'm gonna start with green this time. And that is a dry brush technique. And if you look at my brush, I'm just really pulling some off to the side and just kind of pushing it into the tips of my bristles. And then again, making the same up and down and side to side, I'm just kind of brush my brush along and let it pick up the texture paste that I already have down on this page. I really like to scrub this in kind of hard to really thin it out. But you see how it's kind of picked up a lot of these letters? Can you see that? And then without changing colors, I'm going to go into another cool color. This will work if I go from cool to cool. I'm going to grab some of the blue and I'm going to put some blue on here as well. And just kind of float over some of the green and some of the white. You'll get different variations in the blue and in the green. My only advice on this particular technique, especially on this page, is I would be very careful about going too heavy. I think leaving some of the white areas showing gives your piece, your page, some character. Gives you something for your eye to stop and take a look at. Anyone who watches my videos knows that restraint is not my forte, but I am working on it. Okay. Again, because this paint was adhered so thinly, it's pretty much dry already, but I am going to let it sit off to the side and let it dry all the way. Then this is the last way. Now, the reason I had the palette knife out was in case you did not have a credit card to use. You could do the same thing where you just take the paint down, add it, touch the palette knife to your paint, and scrape it onto your page. That's what that was for. But what I want to show you is that little funky plastic square. Now, you can do this all in one go with a piece of overhead projector plastic, you know what I'm talking about. I sometimes find those at estate sales where you can find boxes of overhead projector material. That's really cool. And you could just put a bunch of paint colors on that and do this technique all at once. I really like using the little square because then I can be very selective about making kind of a patchwork quilt with what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paintbrush again. And this time I'm not going to be quite so gentle, but I'm going to paint this little square and I'm going to press it down kind of like a stamp with acrylic on it. Okay. Just kind of moosh it on there. And mooshing is a technical term, my friends. We're going to moosh it on. And you could do lots of colors on one. For this example, I think I'm just going to do one color at a time. Okay. I'm going to lie my plastic square down. And I'm going to try to give it a nice squish. And you can, because this is clear, this is what I love about it. Because it's clear, I can kind of see what it's doing. And it makes kind of a cool design. So I'm going to try to lift this as carefully as I can. And then there is my first square. And then I can repeat this by laying it down. Now, those of you who are stampers, I am not really a stamper, but I know that stampers have a tendency to do something called ghosting, and it's where they take multiple stamps off of one inking. So that's kind of what this is. So I'm going to add another color to it, which will be the blue. And I'm not sure there's really any rules about this. I think you can add as many colors as you want. It's really up to you. And it's really about playing. It's about playing and trying and seeing what you like. So I'm going to lay this down, any random shape, random pattern, and give it a nice squish down on the page. If you're not an artist, if you tell yourself that you're not an artist, that's okay. You can be a professional squisher. And look how cool that is. I'm just so in love with this technique. Do you see why I kept this little card? This little plastic something. Now I'm going to ghost it. It doesn't have to be straight, which is good because I did not drop this one straight. I'm going to give it a really good mush and lift that up. Oops. I'm going to use some more of that pink and blue just to kind of get used up. But basically, I think you get the idea. You just keep doing this until you get your page covered, or whatever parts of your page you want to have this particular technique on. And because I'm mixing this a little bit more on the little piece of plastic, it's turning into kind of a purpley color, which I'm really loving at the moment. Oops. We have a little slippage here, a little slippage. That's okay, slippage is fine. Slippage is how your friends know you did it yourself, you didn't just go buy it. And you see that slippage from that square to this one? I'm just going to kind of use it and squish it into this square. I'm just being as technical as possible. I'm sure that you can tell that all of this squishage that's going on. Let's see. What happens if we add green to this? It might become a muddy mess. This might become a mess because we're mixing cools and the warms. But let's try it. Let's see. It won't hurt anything to try it. Let's do it right in the middle. We're just going to commit. Commit and get it down. And squish. Squish, squish, squish. And lift. Alright, I dig it. I like it. Makes me happy. Happy's good. You know what I like about this technique too? I like that it leaves white for you. So even if you wanted to go crazy and paint like a crazy person over the whole top of the whole thing, it kind of forces you not to be able to because of all the spaces. You know, if you really were feeling froggy and wanted to do something else, you could use a different color after this dries, like let the background completely dry, and do the same exact thing and just overlay your squares on top. See what would happen. I think the colors would be really cool. Now if you use a transparency sheet, I like those too because obviously with this technique, you have to do multiple applications, multiple squares. With a transparency sheet, you could do it all at once. It just all magically just happens because it's large, it's larger. Squish, squish, squish. Squish, squish, squish. And there you go, that's another one. Let's see. Now I'm really feeling this, so I want to add just a little bit more because I want to fill in my little page. I may not get any over here. And honestly, I don't even think the gesso even mattered at this point, but I really like this a lot, so I'm going to keep going. Let's add, let's see. How about a yellow? Like a buttercream yellow. Because why not? This is another Dago art color. And this one has never been opened before, so bear with me. I have a tendency to not win the struggle of the plastic on top of the caps. That's why God gave you teeth. Don't tell my mother that. I don't think she'd appreciate hearing that. But let's add some yellow. And I'm hoping, because I already have green on my brush and green on this little plastic sheet, that they'll kind of blend together and give me some kind of a cool technique. I think that'll be neat. I'm not sure what will happen with the paint behind it, but we shall see. Okay, just gonna take a deep breath, commit, and drop it. Squish, 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 squish. Lift. Alrighty. Kind of weird, but we're gonna go with it. Just gonna let it do its thing, keep going. It's not so bad. I'm gonna add a little bit of a green to it if I can. I just painted the back side of it. Whoopsie. Okay, let's come up here. Now what I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't stamp two right next to each other. And I realize that the two spaces I have left are next to those colors. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, think quickly, plan, add some blue. All else fails, blue it is. My little patchwork quilt of awesomeness. Let's see. Alrighty. I can go with that. Just gonna kind of go straight blue now. It just kind of picks up every color that you've got on your little stamping plate. Okay. Let's overlap a little. So I don't want to waste my paint. I want it to go on to my page. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And I thought I was going to leave those little square, those little edges, but nope, can't do it. I need to share the love. Share the love, baby, share the love. I can see how if you're not careful, this can become a hot mess very quickly. And that's okay, sometimes a hot mess is cool. I don't know, for those of you who've been art journaling for a while, you would know that art has a tendency to go through the ugly phase. And you think, oh my gosh, I've ruined it, what have I done? And if you just keep going and trust your instinct, more times than not, it's all fixable. It all ends up becoming one of these things that you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, I'm a genius! Or maybe that's just me, I don't know. Let's give that another squish there. And then down here, let's see if we can get some, you know, at any point, if I'm feeling like it's getting muddy, which it is, it's kind of getting pretty muddy, what I could do is just take a paper towel or baby wipe and clean off this little plastic guy and just start again. But you know, the reality is that is too persnickety and I don't really have patience. I just want to do it. I just want to play. Oops. Apparently there was not enough smooshage on that little sheet. Better. Momo better. Swish you again. And drop plastic into water. Drop my brush into some water. And there you go. Now this one between the three, this one is going to take longest to dry. But I think these are pretty cool. And I think these are a really easy way to get paint onto your art journaling backgrounds. So what do you think? Do you think you might try one of those? All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.